And the question was this. He had asked, where is the wealthiest part of the world? Think about that. Where's the wealthiest part of the world? And it got me to think like, well, maybe Dubai, no. Maybe New York City, no. And after thinking through it, he said, the wealthiest part of the world is the cemetery.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 21 of the Casandra Properties podcast. So I say this a lot in the beginning because we've had some amazing guests, and we're really super appreciative of everyone that's joined us so far on this journey. And we're super appreciative of what everyone has shared, and hopefully it's helping you guys as much as it's really helped us. But my guests today, Chad and Danielle Reyes, have, without question, in a very short time, had such a profound impact, more impact on my life in the last couple of months than anyone or anything in my 45 years? 45 years on this earth. So we've got Petey in the corner on the ones and twos as always. We're joined by the always wonderful and dynamic Rebecca. And Chad and Danielle, thank you guys for joining us today.
Yes.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Really appreciate everything you guys have done. And the audience, whether you guys know it or not, knows who you are because I constantly talk about you. So, yeah. Oh, yeah, don't go back and listen.
It's all good. It's all good.
I feel like the audience would probably want to get to know you, get to know how you guys became who you are today. So let's go back. We'll start with Chad. Chad.
You sure you want to do this?
Yes. Well, no, I'm not.
You sure?
Because half the time I talk to you, I leave in tears. So I'm not sure I want to do this, but
Today is going to be tears of joy.
we're going to do it.
Oh, there we go.
So let's go back to the beginning.
Yes, so Danielle and I met each other when we were 11 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. So we started 11 years old. We had met. It was a gentleman that lived on it was a kid that lived on my block when we were kids, and she was friends with his older brother. Well, this happens to be my brother's best friend now.
Okay.
So they're still best friends, and quite frankly, around the corner from your office, Signs Road. That I used to live on the corner of Signs Road and Richmond Avenue.
That's where we met.
That's where we met.
Oh, wow.
Literally, you can see the building from looking at your office.
I lived on Signs Road for a period of time.
Oh wow!
Really?
Yeah. So that's where I lived.
Do-do-do-do.
and the weirdness continues.
Yeah, right?
But yeah, so we met at 11 years old, and we became really close friends at about 13. I'd say about 14 years old, we became best friends, and we just really built a phenomenal.
He liked me in freshman year, but he didn't admit it.
Yeah, she plays hard to get.
All right.
I figured the game out.
There you go. So you guys meet here on Staten Island. Where did you go to high school?
I went to Moore, and she went to Moore.
So was it at that point you guys kind of clicked? And of course you didn't know at that point, but was there...
Depends on which story you want.
It was love at first sight for him. Me, not so much.
It was a slow burn?
Yeah, but you know what?
A slow burn.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like wine, you know? I get
Better
Better
with
with
age.
age.
I'll go with that.
Agreed.
So you guys are dating in high school?
No, we shared our first kiss freshman year,
Yeah.
Wow.
and then Wow. we remained friends.
Then we were just friends for many years.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's... Being friends is so damn important, right?
Yeah.
That is so important in a relationship, and something that for whatever reason eludes a lot of people in life, but you've got to have that foundation and friendship. So college, where did we go?
Why don't you share?
I went to CSI, and Chad went to Binghamton.
Well, I actually started at CSI. So
Okay.
I did a year at CSI, and I had friends of mine that were going to Binghamton, and I'm watching them go back and forth, and they're having the time of their lives, and I'm saying, why am I not doing that? and then I realized how hard it was to get into that school. And I'm like, well, that makes sense. So then for the next semester, I really had to apply myself to get I don't remember what I got, 3.6 or 3.5 to get into Binghamton. And then I went there for 4 years and graduated from Binghamton.
And then I just took some of our friends back and forth, took the weekend ride
Yeah, she
to do some of the...
she was the early adopter. You know the thing called Uber? She started it. She just didn't get paid for it.
That's great. Oh, too funny.
So you guys remain friends on and off-ish through college. You are making runs up to Binghamton. You graduate from college. When does the vision of who you are today and what you do today, when does that start to fall into place?
Well, I'll share a little.
Oh, yeah.
Once there was a time that Chad started to get into the life insurance industry. And at this point, we were friends, had a real good respect for each other, and wanted to see each other succeed. So what I did was he was doing work. He was stuffing envelopes at his father's basement, and we had his girlfriend calls him and says, what are you guys doing? And I said, he says, I'm here with Danielle and we're stuffing envelopes. Do you want to come by? And she said no. And my boyfriend calls me up and says, hey, what are you doing? I said, I'm with Chad. We're stuffing envelopes at his father's basement. Do you want to come? He said no. Nope. So the two of us were like, okay, we'll just continue stuffing envelopes. We'll call them later. And that was, 23?
That was probably about 23, yeah. And I think we started dating around 26.
So you didn't date at all through college or high school or anything?
No.
You just had a crush on her since
I mean,
freshman year.
that's what she
Thank
said.
you.
And
See, I like her.
and I want my wife to go to sleep at night.
So what type of insurance were you doing at that point?
So what had happened is at 23, we had started doing something called mortgage protection insurance. Mm-hmm. And remember, I'm 23 years old, just graduated college, and don't have any friends that have any wealth, any money. So I'm like, how am I going to get in front of people to be able to sell them life insurance? And I had this idea of, well, let's do mortgage protection insurance. And I had a gentleman, Greg, who had shared it with me. He's like, I know someone else who's doing mortgage protection insurance. I said, all right, let's try it. Can't hurt, right? Yep. So it wound up working out really well. We were getting leads after leads after leads. We created a whole system. We got a post office box at the post office. We created these template letters. Now, mind you, this is 2003. This is before the whole internet boom. And it's working. I mean, we're getting 20, 30, 40 leads a day.
Wow.
We couldn't keep up with the leads. The problem was it was in Ocean County, New Jersey. And you didn't have GoToMeeting and Zoom, so you had to travel out there, travel back for $100 a year. Yeah. Premiums, $200 a year premiums. So when you look at it, after all of your costs, you're like, I was so busy this year and I made not a dollar. I lost. In my first 18 months, I made $18,000 in revenue.
Wow.
In revenue, $8,000 in expenses.
That's when I knew he needed help.
And I couldn't work any harder.
Yep. Well, that's something we've shared at different points in our lives, mine up until I met you, right? Just working at all costs and having the head down and just pushing and pushing and pushing because you felt like you had to, and not lifting the head up and going, I can go around that wall, or I could do things a little differently. And it's so crazy when you're in that grind, you don't see it. You legitimately don't see it. All that matters is if you got 30 leads, come hell or high water, I'm sure you felt you had to respond to 30 leads, and you had to try and find a way to make those meetings and get it done. So MPI, mortgage insurance, for those who don't know, is a policy that essentially it piggybacks your mortgage on your home in the event of whatever it may be. Death or I don't know, disability, I guess, wouldn't cover that, right? That'd be a DI policy?
Typically, yeah, DI.
So in the event of death, your mortgage amount would be insured for, and it would take care of that for whoever you were leaving your estate to. So that was pretty popular for a period of time.
Yeah, and we figured it out. I mean, we were crushing it. We just weren't making money.
Yeah. Well, that's the other side of the table, right? And again, it's hard to get lost in that, though, as you're just head down going. Sometimes you have to lift your head up and go, hey, if I can give anybody advice, it's that. I've made the excuse for 2 decades that I've been too busy pedaling the bike to fix it, right? And when that time invested fixing it, oh goodness, does it make it easier to ride that bike?
Yeah.
Right.
I remember a conversation you and I had, and you said to me, you said, Chada, you said that you would never be out-disciplined.
Yep.
I said, yeah. I didn't say outworked.
Nope.
I'm not willing to put 100 hours.
I didn't understand that. And I took that as a challenge. That's how demented I am.
That's okay. That's true.
good.
Right?
When we heard it too, we took it as a
Right? It's like you won't be out-disciplined.
Yeah.
Well, I won't be outworked. So this will work out great. And I didn't realize the difference between hard work and discipline. And I didn't understand the difference of intentional.
Yeah.
I had no clue what being intentional was. I thought I did. We thought we did.
Yeah.
But we had no idea. There's a massive gap between having a regiment and a program and putting in the hours and getting things done and being intentional. So we bought in hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah, we did.
We've turned everything upside down, quite honestly, and we're finding in like the last couple of weeks as we're turning the schedule over, January 1st is like the day that it'll be 100% implemented. It's a process because you book certain meetings out. And like you were telling me in the beginning, if there are meetings on these days, like I'm not available, I won't pick up the phone. I won't.
People have actually teased us about this too. They said, if Warren Buffett wanted to meet with you on a Monday, what would you do? And we were like, we'd say no.
Yeah, and you've said that to me in the beginning.
But
and
if
I was
Warren
like,
is listening to this right now.
Right. Just so happens we're free any day.
Well, maybe Monday night.
There you go.
But during those hours of those days, right, you're doing what you need to do to plan to make sure that you're staying intentional.
Yeah. And James, I think the key is that if I do take a meeting on a Monday, then I need to recognize that I'm robbing my clients on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and Saturday if it work. Because Monday, I learned this from a coaching program that it broke 3 days. They broke the week up into 3 days: buffer days, focus days, free days. Right? And what you realize is that if a buffer day becomes a focus day, well, then you're robbing other people because you don't have the time to invest in what you really need to do to serve them. So that was the impetus for me. I said, Monday's my buffer day. Monday's our buffer day. We're just not going to see clients. And it's quite frankly has created some form of tension sometimes with people that have joined the team because they're like, well, I want to see clients on Monday. Well, we're not the firm for you then.
Yeah.
I get it. But there are certain things that for us are what I would call a non-negotiable because I'm okay with Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. But Mondays, to me, it's a prep day. It has to be a prep day if I'm going to be able to be there for people and be able to serve them at the level that they deserve to be served.
And there are times that we have tried, for something special or important or urgent. And you have to see the way the rest of the week goes. It's such a drastic difference. And even within ourselves, we'll be frustrated by the end of the week. And it's robbing from others.
And Staten Island happens to have golf outings on Mondays. It's phenomenal. It's like every single organization wants a golf outing on a Monday. And I've said no to so many. And not because I don't want to be there. It's just if I don't do the Monday the way we're used to in preparing for that whole week, it impacts so many other people and so many other things. And if we do say yes to a Monday, like we did one with the SIEDC on a Monday, well, that weekend we worked. So we came in and we had to make it up. So it didn't get moved. It just got replaced with I gave up a Saturday for her and I to be able to do the things that we normally would get done on a Monday.
People ask us how we get so much done. And really it's the discipline, the structure that allows us to really get as much accomplished.
Well, I think we're finding that just kind of starting to pick up your model. And I think it was last week or the week before, it was the first time we had really implemented it for a couple of days. And we were both like, wow, we got so much done. And it was kind of like, but wait a minute, we're always working this many hours, but how come we're getting so much more done now? Yes. It was really neat.
So I do what I always do, and my ADD, and I jump off course. But I want to stay with this for a few minutes. Then we'll go back to stuffing envelopes and mortgage protection.
Preferably, if we don't have to go back there, I'd be okay.
Yeah, all right, we'll start right after that. So, buffer days and focus days. Focus days, we also, in your training, were noted as profit days. So what we were doing is we're working on a million different things, right? We're trying to move a lot of projects forward. Mistake number one was you have to pick, for us, it was the big five. What are the big five that we're going to put our energy into? And until one of those five is completed, we're not going to replace it with another big one.
Yep.
So that was issue number one, is right away things started coming off our smart sheets, and we were like, no, that just doesn't make the cut anymore. Don't know how it got in here, but get that out. We're not going to work on that anymore. The second thing was our reminders would go, like on a Tuesday, for example, it would pop and say, follow up with approvals on ABC Street. That now has become, on our buffer day, speak to the DEC representative and engineer XYZ to ensure that this specific item was done, not just follow up on approvals.
Yeah.
It became very specific, and we found immediately that our partners, our clients, our customers fell right into it. I was a little bit concerned that getting that, we've got our little plan ahead days now, right? And we've melded smart sheets into that because that system just works for us for data banking and reminders. But now what we're doing is we have a chain for each project that's running, and we're identifying in our buffer day, okay, these are the things that need to get done for this project this week, and that's it. Yep. And then we're carrying those out on the balance of our week on the focus days, and any profit meetings or meetings that would result in quantifiable business, we won't take now on those other days. And very quickly, in just a couple of weeks, with only a few days a week that we're trying it, wow.
Huge change.
Night and day.
That is
And
Well, it's
awesome.
momentum. What happens is that in business, we have so many things coming at us, right? It's just consistent. It's problem, then this client, this person wants your time. And we break momentum. We start momentum, we break momentum. So what we're doing is we're just time blocking so that we can get momentum. And, Maxwell says this all the time, John. He says, when you have momentum, you look better than you are. And when you don't have momentum, you look worse than you are. But you're really not that good, nor are you that bad. It's just you have momentum.
Right.
And what I try to do, and what I've done in my own personal life and with some of the clients we work with, is help them build their calendar where they can get momentum. So they don't start something for 10 minutes, stop it, start it, stop it, start it, stop it. Because that's what creates the frustration and never gives you enough time to really get steam underneath you.
And I think the other part to that, though, is communication. It's the way that you deliver it to your team and to your clients, that they shouldn't feel that structure, like on the outside as much as you have it on the inside. And it's the way that you deliver it to them and still continue to have them feel special, like, you're open to them.
Absolutely.
That's a big key.
One of the things that I, for me personally, have visualized, it's something that's made a big difference, is I almost look at it like bumpers at a bowling alley, right? So when you bring your kids to go bowl, sometimes if they're young, you put these bumpers up. And you put the bumpers there because you want to make sure if the kids throw the ball too much to the left or too much to the right, it hits the bumper and it bounces back in with the ultimate point of making it to the pin. I visually in my mind have created bumpers. So I know where the pins are. I know where we got to go. And I just want to throw the ball, and if it bounces, if it's going too far off the lane, just push it back into the lane. And I know that we just got to get towards the pin. And that's a visual for me.
By the way, he doesn't like bowling.
And I don't like bowling either.
I'm the bowler.
No. Don't say that, because Frank's going to get so upset. Frank Wilkinson.
Sorry. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Frank.
Frank, we're just kidding. We really love bowling.
I do love Robs.
Oh, jeez.
So as you're doing this and you're turning the schedule over, and what seems like certainly it's more focused, but the lists seem to get longer and longer, right? So we had to start cutting, but then also addressing priority. When did this happen? When did it need to be addressed in our buffer day and in our focus days, because these are not new projects. On new projects, it'll be easy for us. Okay, this is how we're going to do it. We're going to get our plan aheads done, which are amazing, and I want to talk about it a little bit later. But after that's set, you kind of have a structure, and you know when you're going to be doing what you're going to be doing. That's when you're going to be doing the individual tasks on those individual days. We're trying to retrofit in multiple companies and multiple initiatives that we're trying to move forward. And you had said to me, I guarantee you, how many hours you work in a week now? 100, a legit 100 hours. I guarantee you, you'll get it done in 75 if you want. And you had said that when you have it in your head that you're going to work 100 hours, it will take 100 hours, no matter what.
Yep.
When you have it in your head that you're going to work 75 hours, you're going to get it done in 75. And again, mentally, I was like, no way. No way could I chop 25 hours a week and even be consistent with productivity. It happened already. I don't know quite how it happens, but you start to see minutes become hours that you're just not being productive. You're working, but you're not working. You're not being intentional. And I've cut 25 hours of my week out now. I'm taking a day to be with the wife and kids. And just this weekend, a common friend got married, Rob Nixon. Congratulations, Rob and Francesca.
Yes, congrats.
Beautiful ceremony.
Yes.
My wife, who's heard about you constantly, she lit up in church when I was like, that's them. She was like, who? I said, that's Chad and Danielle. And she came up to you guys afterwards, right? And she thanked you.
That was the first thing she did, was thank us, and that was a heartfelt.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
Warmed us.
Yeah. Here I go again.
You know how we go through this, though, James? I had to struggle through this.
Yeah.
Because I was the guy who was working 100 hours a week. I was the guy that was waking up at 5 a.m., 4 a.m., 3 a.m., going to bed at midnight. And I knew that I could work harder than anyone else, but how long can I do that, realistically?
Yeah.
Until your body just says, I'm tired, I'm done. And the thing that I know is this, is that when we steward, whatever we steward, we get more of. So if we steward our time, we get more time. If we steward our body, we get better body. If we steward our relationships, we have better relationships. And the second I started realizing that I had good intentions, that's all I was. I was Chad who had good intentions. I wanted to be successful. I wanted to help people, but I had good intentions. And the second that changed to me being intentionally good, everything changed. You get time back, you get relationships back. And the truth, you're seeing it. You get everything you need done, and you have extra time.
Without a doubt. And it's so exciting where we are as a company. We've talked about doing other things, other initiatives in Casandra Properties. Casandra Properties is the mothership. It most likely always will be the mothership. And we've had a very successful, no, we haven't. We've had a successful consulting division. We've had success cultivating agents, but we haven't gone where it should have gone. And in a very short few weeks, really, where we've spent time on that, we've now built out the whole schedule for next year. Yeah. The Casandra Properties Institute will be up and running.
That's
and
awesome.
100% by the end of next year. We've identified 52 topics. We've identified the resources that we need, the time that we need, the buy-in from the team members. Pete is already working on the infrastructure, and our consulting division will be memorialized now. So thank you for opening our eyes. And we're just getting started, and we're so excited about,
Absolutely.
Becca is actually getting a day off, and, you take it for granted. Like, I've never taken Becca for granted, but I have. So I've tried to be here for her as she's been here for me in business, but I've been so programmed to just go and go and go. You don't think about it,
Right.
And she's literally been on call for how many years now? 5?
5, yeah.
5 years?
Or 6, yeah.
I haven't taken a day off. Neither has she. Not one. Not one. And now one of my proudest moments after the family was she can take time. and she's got a family and she's got things that she wants to do and she deserves to be able to step away. So it's not just self-serving. It immediately starts to lift everybody up around you.
Yes, right.
The team is appreciating that you can't get me for a certain period of time during the week, but I'm not going to get you either, right? We're going to respect boundaries, and you don't have to be on call constantly. That is absolutely not true. That old mentality of work until your knuckles are bleeding and you're so exhausted you can't stand. There's a very limited place for that, but that's not how you run a company.
And James,
Yeah.
I think this, right? I think when you look at the time that you have on this earth, I've counted it. It's to 100 years old, I got 704 months.
Wow.
Okay? So when you know how much time, and God willing, I live beyond it. I may not, but I'm believing I'm going to live beyond that. The goal is not to work till you can't think. The goal is to give everything you have every day within boundaries, because it's not what you accomplish in a day, it's what you accomplish in a lifetime.
Right.
Right? And then you and I have had conversations, and my wife and I speak about this all the time. It's not about just one generation. It's generational. Right? So like what I'm building, I'm setting up, God willing, our children one day, our nieces, our nephews, future generations of young leaders who can build on the shoulders of Danielle and Chad.
Right.
So it doesn't end when I'm done, when I'm gone. It just begins. And I see that in the life of John Maxwell. Danielle and I have been blessed to be around him. And, just to see how he operates. And honestly, he's changed how we do things and how we see things. And to see a man at 73 years old who is at the highest of his game. He's playing at the top of the game. Him and Tony Robbins, those are the top two, and then there's everyone else. And to see how he operates and to realize that he's just beginning. Because he says, I have so many people that are younger than me that I'm investing in and developing and growing. And that's what happens a lot of the times is we think that it's only one generation and it's only us. It doesn't end with us. Casandra Properties and James Prendamano's and influence and legacy is way bigger than just the years you're on this earth.
Well, that's the exciting part of hearing you, James, is I came from the same background. My father worked around the clock, and he used to say about sleep, he's like, I'll sleep when I'm dead.
Yeah.
And that was the mentality, and I took that on. When you were talking about the wall before, I didn't think of how to get over the wall or how to go under or how to navigate it. I just thought of how to go through it, right? And that's probably the hardest thing. So for us to change it for the next generation, for your kids to not feel what we feel, what we felt today is just so important, and how they can do things differently. Like my husband said, generationally, that's really what fuels us, is the next generation. Things I wish, early on, just to take it back for a minute, early on when my husband and I started working together, the first 6 months to a year, it was do or die.
Like, was a lot of dying
we were going to either kill each other or this was going to work. And the way I was built.
We're still here, guys.
That's a testament in itself. But the way, some people look at me, because I remember saying, okay, we were all in. I couldn't even see anything beyond that. I couldn't see if we couldn't make what we wanted to build together work, I couldn't see us working in any other area. Somebody had said to us, somebody had said to us, had said to me, oh, what, you just couldn't get married? And I was like, no, for me, something inside me was like, this is all or nothing here. Because we were built very similar. And, this vision is a shared vision, so we needed both parts for this to come to fruition. And I said to him, I was like, I needed to know that I gave it my all, and I hired our first coach. And that coach had transformed us so much that I joked with him as the years went on, and I said, I want coaching for the rest of my life. Like, it's been that impactful. Yeah. And then I said, jokingly enough, I saw the gift in him, which was amazing, and people confirmed it, and just started to make such a big impact of those around me. And I wanted people to feel what I felt, like similar to what James is sharing. And we now we do. Now we have coaching for the rest of our life.
So
Thank you, hon.
that's a beautiful transition to get my Tweety birds back on track because you guys are so young. And how do you get there? As you know, I've spoken to other clients and partners, and I'm sharing my experiences, and they're seeing it, and they're like, what's going on? So as this is starting to take root, I'm sharing with others, you've got to go speak to these guys. I can't put into words the impact. You have to go through it. You have to experience it. And they have the benefit of seeing it from the outside a little bit. But a lot of the reaction was, and my reaction was, and I was resistant to this in the beginning. I owe all of this to Rob Nixon.
Yeah.
Because he stayed on my back about
Awesome
this
guy.
for
Yeah, Rob is
2
awesome.
years, literally. Like, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this. You guys are so young. So how did you get from doing what I was doing, running down leads, you're kind of on your path, you're on your path. What can you walk us through, like, when did you start to get interested in Lions Pride, Wealth and Legacy Group? How did these things come to be, and how do you get where you are today?
So at a young age, I think I was maybe 11. I just knew. I knew that I knew beyond I knew that I was one day going to be wildly successful. I didn't know how and I didn't know why, but I just knew because we were watching a movie with my mom one day, and we're watching, it was Richard Gere was in the movie, and he was this like business tycoon. And
You could say what movie it was.
come on. It was Pretty Woman, all right? It was Pretty Woman.
That was our first.
Peter, you heard that? It was Pretty Woman. But I remember him as a businessman, and I didn't glorify the other parts of his life, but I remember as a businessman, I'm like, I can do that. And from a young age, I just always knew that I liked business. And what I realized was, and now I realize it today, I didn't realize it then, is I had uphill dreams with downhill habits.
Oh.
So
Interesting.
So I had all these dreams and visions of where I wanted to go, but my life was a mess. At 21 years old, I went financially bankrupt. Chapter 7. 21 years old. That's a shock.
Yeah.
You say, 21 years old, you're just getting into the world. No, bankruptcy.
Yep.
So that was for me, I say God literally hit me hard right in the beginning, and is like, I'm getting your attention. I want to do something special with you, but I need you all in. And I remember one day, Danielle and I, like she said earlier, we were friends, and I had this little basement apartment, just getting started, and I'm looking in the bathroom mirror, and I'm looking, and I'm like, I don't like the man I'm looking at right now.
Literally that happened?
Literally.
I was in the mirror, and I remember looking and saying, I don't like the man I'm looking at right now. And that day when I looked in the mirror, I said, I'm no longer going to be that guy. That guy used to give up. That guy used to, and I'm gonna dovetail this, but that guy used to give up on everything. That guy used to, his mouth was bigger than his action. His commitments meant nothing, right? So at that moment, I said, that's it. I'm done with that guy. I'm done. The next day, I made a decision. I'm not going out partying no more. I'm not going out to clubs. And, Danielle and I were friends, remember that. So her and all of my friends are like, oh, we're going out tonight, going down to the...
I pulled up to the house.
We're going down to the Jersey Shore. I said, well, enjoy. They're like, come on. We were just out last weekend. I said, yeah, no, I made a decision. I'm done. That's it. I'm done. And from that day, James, I started reading. While they were out partying, I was reading. And I read 52 books a year.
Wow.
For 10 years.
That's when my spark started.
Okay? So a book a week for almost 10 years.
And you were how old at this point?
23.
20. Wow. It's impressive.
So I just made a decision that I wanted something different for my life because I saw where I was going. I mean, I'm 21 years old and I'm literally declared bankruptcy. I was so embarrassed to tell people that. But the way, at least for me, how God does things is he's a redeemer. And at 21 years old, yes, that was my point, but I'm 40. I'm 40, and he's just getting started in my life. I mean, the things he's doing in Danielle in my life is absolutely amazing, to be able to do the things that he's opening up for us. But you have to go through the tough times to see the light on the other side of it, right? But it was that. It was 23 years old. I looked in the mirror. I did not like the man I saw, and I had to make a decision and said, I'm done with this life. I'm done with going out partying and drinking and going crazy and all of that. I'm done with it. And since that day, people, my friends would call me and be like, are you okay? People would call Danielle because we were best friends, and they're like, did Chad lose it?
Yeah, I was concerned. But also, I was concerned, but also inquisitive, for lack of better words. I was like, what's going on here? And I was just excited that he started to see something that he was passionate about.
You could say you thought I was going to be a loser.
I did.
Remember, she knows me since 11. From 11 to 21, everything stated that I was going to be a loser.
But I was there for him. I kept showing up. I knew there was something there.
Oh, man, thank God.
But, But one of the other things, and to answer your question, too, on how we are where we are today and we're young, is I have to be honest, when I see things come at us, and I'm big about failure, like I'm failing forward. So I remember at a part when him and I first got into the business, and I was kind of joking with God, and then all of a sudden it became real, but I was like, hey, bring it on, bring it on, give me everything that I can handle now so I can get over it, so that I can, get where I need to. Right, exactly.
Oh, thanks for
move it
that
out. Sorry.
Be careful what you ask for.
But honestly, it was a lot of failure. It was a lot of, I came from a background of family owning businesses and just achieving and great work ethic, and I was wired that way. And he came from a different family background. So, us coming together to try to do this, from what I saw, I knew what I didn't want to do. I didn't know what I wanted to do, though. I just knew all the stuff that I saw my family do, I didn't want. I actually didn't want to be a business owner because of what I saw in my family. And
I convinced you otherwise. Sorry.
So us coming together was a lot of failure. I mean, I really have to give it to that failing forward, learning from it, picking up, and moving forward, and being okay with that. It's okay to fail. Yeah. I was very big of a perfectionist at the beginning too, which held back a lot. Yep. A lot. And I started to just recognize now I just can't wait to just get it out there and so we fail.
You said something that really stuck with me for a minute. You knew at a very young age you were going to be wildly successful. I didn't. I knew I was going to work hard. I didn't know what level of success. I didn't even know what success looked like, actually, when I really think about it. And
nor did I, because I didn't come from a family of success. I just knew I was going to be successful. I didn't know what that meant either.
So I wonder what it is. What was your relationship like with your folks?
I mean, I happen to say that I honestly had an amazing family life. My mom and my dad had their struggles, like a lot of families do, but I had a mom and a dad who absolutely loved me. I mean, the amount of love in my house, even though they couldn't love each other, was crazy. My dad was there at every baseball game, every event. My mom was there for everything. I had a very hard family life because of they couldn't get together, work together, but we never were short of love. My mom always there, always loved. Great to this mom. Day. And my dad, passed away at 58 years old, but from the moment I was born till the day that I remember him passing away, it was always his kids were first. Yes, he had his other faults that people struggle with, but in my house, that's how it was. And the thing that I recognized is, and this is really cool, and I don't know if I even shared this with my mom yet, so she may be hearing it first time on Casandra's Properties podcast. But my mom is a visionary. My mom sees things before other people do, but she doesn't have action behind her vision. My dad had action with no vision. So my dad was a Marine. So a Marine's life is this, very simple. You don't stop, because if you stop, that's when you die, right? So I recognized the two. My dad had no vision, but my dad was just this disciplined man, and my mom had no discipline, but she was this visionary person. And I said, well, if I'm going to have their DNA, I might as well pick the best of the two worlds, and let's have vision and discipline. So that was a decision I had to make, but also I had to recognize the things that I didn't like about my mom and my dad, and recognize that they were doing their best, even though maybe sometimes it felt like it wasn't good enough.
So being self-aware is so important. We talked recently about, Becca and I, we've had a measure of success, right? We've done okay, but it's not what I think I shared with you, like right out of the gate. Always felt there was something else. I didn't know what it was, but this isn't it, and from the outside, people look and go, are you kidding me? You built this company. There's something else. There's been something else, and I didn't know what it was. And through our relationship, Becca and I were talking through it, and I kind of had this moment where I realized that if you don't have the vision and if you don't project it, you won't get there. And I was actually somehow subliminally sabotaging myself. Yep. And I would get right to the edge of whatever that next step was, and we would make incremental steps. But, we talked through it, and it was like, you're right. You have, and you are. And I was actually holding myself back from that next step, and I didn't even recognize it. Yeah. So it is so cool to be where I am right now, where we are right now. Yeah. And
I just want to add to that, what you're sharing. There's a video. If anyone hasn't seen it, I would recommend all your listeners to watch it. It's Miles Monroe. You can go on YouTube, and it's called Die Empty. And what's really interesting is it's something that, it's one of the things that Danielle and I have promised that we would do. And the question was this. He had asked, where is the wealthiest part of the world? Think about that for a moment. Where's the wealthiest part of the world? And it got me to think like, well, maybe Dubai, no. Maybe New York City, no. And after thinking through it, he said, the wealthiest part of the world is the cemetery. Because in the cemetery lies all the books, all the businesses, all the dreams, all the visions you had that never came to pass. And he said, I challenge you. And when he said it, I was watching it, watching the video. When he said it, I literally felt like something inside of me say, Chad, you got to die empty. You got to die with nothing left in you. Have given it out to the world so you have nothing left. So you don't give the grave anything that it wasn't supposed to have.
Amen. Wow.
And it changed my life. It's changed her life. And there's a difference between working hard and dying empty.
Mm-hmm. I got to say, part of that, and I think of that daily, like right now, this is so out of my comfort zone. I mean, I've been pushed out of my comfort zone. But the reason that I can think too is like, I want to die empty. I want to give it out. When I'm laying in that bed, or God forbid, or the end is near. Right. What are you going to regret? And I don't want to regret not sitting here. I don't want to regret a lot of the things that I would have held myself back and, sabotaged myself because I just didn't want to step out.
That's the conversation her and I have all the time. Like, there's going to come a day, all of us, where we're going to be 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, God willing, right? I don't want to be on my deathbed that day when the doctor says, this is the last day. And me to look back over my life and say, I had so much more the world could have had. But I don't have time. I ran out of time now. So that's terrifying to me. Yep.
So I actually had a moment with an uncle of mine. He was my godfather, and he ran after his dreams. And honestly, he fell short because he I guess you could say lack of confidence or something just had shortened it. But he felt like he was giving his all to his dream. Mm-hmm. And when I was next to him on his deathbed, he had so many regrets. He had regrets of, not starting a family, not getting married, not pursuing in areas that he could have pursued more in. And to witness that and sit next to somebody you cared so deeply about and saw where he could have just made different choices or different turns and then be laying there. He ended up having cancer, so it was slow. But that for me was a reflection, and that's why that Die Empty was so powerful. Because I was like, I want to die giving all that I can. And I believe I'm going to live a long life.
You are going to.
But there's people that have shortened life, that had lived more life than somebody that may have, could be 80, 90 and not have. And
I think a key,
thing.
and I think a key is our life, your life, James, your life, Becca, should encourage people to want to step out of their comfort zone. They should say, he could do it, why can't I?
Yeah.
He's not that much more talented than I. He doesn't have, 2 more legs than I. But sometimes I think we as people just hold ourselves back.
Yep.
And one of the things that we've committed to is allowing our lifestyle to encourage others to dream bigger, to do more, to die empty. And it doesn't mean it's easy, but I'm always going to challenge you to do it.
So fear is wicked. Fear is what holds us back. This traditionally didn't happen. To get, on a podcast and to, share these types of thoughts and to have this type of conversation was frowned upon. It was almost prohibited, even 10 years ago, right? Never mind 20 years ago. But having the ability to just be honest and peel the onion back and share part of what I wanted to do, and one of the core missions of this podcast for me personally was, there was the James Prendamano people knew, and then the James Prendamano that most people didn't know. And I wanted the world to see the other me, and I wanted the world to understand that these things are so uncomfortable. This was so foreign for me just a few years ago. It was, I would have bet you my right arm, there is no way that I ever would be doing what I'm doing today. But it helps, right? You sharing that this is out of your comfort zone. I never would have known that, right? In the settings that we've been in, I think, wow, I need to get more like those guys. They're comfortable, they're confident, they've got it.
Oh, she's so out of her comfort zone.
To me, that's unbelievable, right? But to share that, it will inspire other people. As people are starting to learn more and more about how I was programmed, it is impacting them, and it is helping other people to step out.
Our stories are powerful.
Yes, they are.
Without a doubt. So you made this decision, you have that moment in the mirror, and I applaud you for acting on it in such an unbelievable way, because I think a lot of us have those moments in the mirror and not much changes. How do you then make the decision to go into business together? What was the first business, and just take us through the next couple of years?
So my father passed away in 2006. I was 26. Danielle and I had just started dating, and it's so funny. When he passed away, I had just started seeing some success in our business. I had the first 2 years. It was kind of like really 2.5 years was really hard. And then I went from, I 10x'd my income in 1 year, right? Which 10xing a little was not a lot of money, but still success.
10x.
Yeah, still doing good.
So my dad and I were going to buy a little boat, and he passed away. And we had just ordered the books to come in to purchase the boat. We're going to buy maybe a 25-footer. He, loved just being on the water. It was very, my dad had like 60 surgeries in his lifetime. So, Agent Orange disease, hepatitis from Vietnam. He was a Marine. So he had a lot of complications. And, I wanted to be able to buy a boat with him or buy a boat for him, to be able for him to just enjoy it, his latter years. And I knew that he wasn't going to live many years. But when he passed away at 26 years old, I remember the day. I'm at my brother's house. I'm in the car. I'm bawling, crying. And I look at my older brother in the eyes and I say, this is a pivotal moment in my life. I'm either going to shrivel up and just literally just allow life to beat me up. I said, or I'm going to do something that's going to make Dad proud. I said, one day we're going to have a foundation in his name. one day we're going to, and the vision we're building today was a decision that we made in 2006. And then Danielle and I, I shared the vision. She's like, I'm in, let's do it. And it was all in. It was all in. And, since that day, we have not looked back. It's been all in.
Yeah, I'll share a little part of that too. He came to me one day. We started dating, I think it was like 6 months. And he was like, he said, this is the vision. He said, I think you could help me. So I said, no.
Like I said earlier, hard to get. Got my point?
And then he said, we can make a lot of money.
And you said no.
And I said no. And then I said in my little arrogant, little thing,
Staten
I was
Island
like,
swag.
my salad, I was like, I just want to help people. I had no idea what that meant. I just know the money was not the drive. And I did. I came in, my heart, I had to be connected to what we were doing.
Yeah.
And what I started to see, and that's where part of the vision started to come within me, where I was like, he was doing life insurance at the time. Mm-hmm. And I knew the impact that it could do for families. Mm-hmm. It could help families. And again, I just came from a family that also didn't do they didn't have guidance in the right area. So I know how the wealth hurt the family. Yep. So I was like, how can we help these families and show that we care, not just a transaction of a policy. Mm-hmm. And we ended up watching I read the book, The Ultimate Gift.
Favorite movie and
recommend
favorite
it
book.
Extremely. It is my favorite. It was my favorite book and then my favorite movie. And I turned over to him once after reading it, and I looked at him, I said, we have to do this. And he was like, what? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, this. We have to do this. I'm like, everybody has to do this. And we watched the movie together, and he just took off, and we created this love planning. It's leaving. It's an acronym for leaving others valuable experiences, and that's really what started to transform the insurance industry for us. And that's what started to
actually led into our launching of our coaching company.
Well, that's what I was going to say. So the love planning is actually coaching wealthy families on how to transfer wealth and succession planning. So we did such a good job in that one of our clients was like, I need to keep you on board, and you need to help me.
You guys have impacted us a lot. How can we continue to work together? And I went home and I'm like, so babe, remember that vision that we had that we were going to have a couple of other divisions? Yeah, I think we're launching that. And then within a couple of days, we had the new entity created, and we were off to the races on that one.
Welcome Lions Pride.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's neat.
So when was that?
That was the end of 2016.
2016.
And we launched Lions Pride in 2017. Yeah.
So where does Wealth and Legacy fit in?
So Wealth and Legacy Group, as my wife says, is our oldest baby. She said we got 3 of them, right? We got Wealth and Legacy Group, which is the oldest, and we got I Am Empowering, which is the middle child, which always feels like it's not getting the attention it deserves.
Yeah, wow, that is true.
And then we have Lions Pride, the baby who gets all the attention. But the Wealth and Legacy Group was it was originally a life insurance model that it eventually developed into working with successful families. And
that's where the love planning.
Correct.
Part I was sharing.
Okay. Yeah, and the thing that happened was, and it's all around coaching. It's all about leadership. I mean, every business we have is all about developing people because it's people that are the asset, right?
Right.
But what we realized is that in our coaching in our Wealth and Legacy Group, the families that we were working with, they all had consistent levels, consistent themes, and the themes were, how do I transfer the wealth without it hurting the kids? Mm-hmm. How do I do this without it hurting the kids? How do I build a business and transfer it to my kids or my grandkids? And we started seeing these consistent themes. And as my homework, as I started doing research, what I started realizing is that wealth doesn't make it to the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th generation. Very small percentages do. So 70% of the wealth only makes it to the 2nd generation, 90 to the 3rd, 97 to the 4th.
Wow.
That means 97% of it is eroded, and only 3% of it's getting to that generation, to the 4th generation.
Wow.
And it made me start looking and saying, like, why? Breakdown in communication and trust. Mm-hmm. That's the main reason. And the second reason was failure to prepare the next generation. It's all coaching, guys.
Well,
it's all
people-
communicating.
Right.
Yeah.
People in that world actually think it's the advisors. Why does it fail? Why does it not transfer this to the next generation? They think it's the advisors. When we came to realize that it's communication and trust, that changed.
And most advisors don't know how to do that.
No.
That's the problem. The problem is, so you work with these, brilliant technical minds that have no clue how to help with breakdown of communication and trust and prepare the next generation. So they're technically brilliant for one generation, but if you want to get it beyond one generation, you need to look at it through a different lens.
So 70% of uncoached families lose their assets, as well as their family harmony following the transition of the estate to the next generation. And 60% of all wealth failures are due to the breakdown of communication and trust.
Mm-hmm.
And until you get into this mindset and you start to buy into this program, you think you're a good communicator, right? Like I thought that I was clear and concise. Like we thought that we were giving clear direction. And you had challenged me a couple of times on that. And you're like, are you sure you're communicating clearly? Like, are you sure? Like, did you write it down? Did you get them to sign it? Like, and as you start to peel it back, you realize you're not. You're not communicating. And that is the jump off for everything. If you're not able to communicate things properly, everything else is out the window, right?
Yep.
It falls apart pretty darn quick, and then you sit around the table looking at each other going, how the heck did this happen? How did we end up here again? Yep. And then you start to point fingers, and then animosity starts to build, and right, all these other bad things start to happen. But by slowing it down.
There's two things that happen, though, right? People say that trust has been eroded. No, trust is not eroded. Communication was broken, and it stood broken for extended periods of time, which then led to, I can't trust the person. That's what happens. A lot of people think, well, I can't trust them. No, I can't trust them didn't start there. It started 5 years ago with that employee or with the family member or with the team member that you weren't communicating well. And then you're like, don't worry about it. I'll sweep it under the rug. Well, yeah, you swept it under the rug and you didn't have to deal with it then. But you did you're dealing with it 5 years later when you say, I can't trust them. Right. And now you're letting them go, or you're walking out of your marriage, or whatever the case may be. But it happened here.
Yeah, and there's a saying that I say often is increased awareness transforms lives.
I love that.
And that's really, and that's what you're speaking about, right? It's
Without a doubt.
We think we're doing it right because we don't know any better.
You had also taught that the person with the highest level of awareness is responsible for the relationship, which sucks.
It sucks. Think about John Maxwell. It really sucks for John, right? It's like you're responsible for every relationship.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So if you're having these breakdowns in communication or there are issues in the relationship and you have the higher level of awareness, it's on you to right the ship and to fix what's broken and to impart that to the people in your lives. That was a tough one.
Or bring people on your team that have a higher level of awareness than you. Now it's on them.
Yeah. Right. Well,
Listen,
you guys, another thing you turned us on to were the Pro Ds.
Yeah.
And
those are incredible.
Pretty cool.
Incredible. Like I don't know how we operated without them now.
that's increased awareness.
It's so funny because I was saying to James just the other night, so I took my Pro D not that long ago. We started them in the company, a couple of us, and said to James, I feel so seen. Like, I did. I'm like, but at the same time, I was like, how do they know that about me? You know, because you answer some basic questions, not understanding. And then to read it, it was remarkable. I couldn't believe how spot on it was.
Yeah. They have a saying that says, people are complex. Understanding them doesn't have to be.
Oh, that's good.
Right? So if you think about it, we all are complex. Every one of us have a different fingerprint. We're not the same people, right? We all have different motivations, but we all are very simple in how we can be handled if we knew how to do it. Most people don't know how to do it, and there's a scientific proven fact behind it. That's the reason why it works so well, because when you read your assessment, you're like, wait a minute. How do they know that's me?
I know.
But it's scientific. So if they knew that was you, and by how you answered those questions, Well, then if you're looking for someone that's on your team that needs to fit a certain role, if we know exactly what we're looking for, then we can identify them and put them in the right role.
So cool.
So I didn't know some of those things about me. I knew them, but I didn't. So it's hard to explain this if people haven't gone through it. But in the process of becoming more aware, you have to have some tough moments. And that analysis really does peel it back for you. And you have to have those moments where you say, I don't like it, but it's right. I'm not good at this. I don't excel at that. I might think I'm good at this, but people don't perceive me as being good at this. And then you can start to identify the gaps in the organization.
Yep.
And you can go out and bring folks in that really excel at those individual places where you don't, even though you thought you did. And it's been unbelievably, like we have our convergence meeting coming up tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like we've been
Yes,
talking, like we cannot
I know,
wait
we're
for
so
our
excited.
convergence
We've
meeting.
been studying you guys.
So,
Can I just speak to that one
of
moment?
course.
So there's a principle that we use called the 70-25-5 principle, right? Sometimes we call it 75-20. It depends on who we're working with. but the concept is this, is that you want to spend 70 to 75% of your time in your area of your strength, and you want to spend 5% of your time in your area of your weakness. And we live in a world that tells us the opposite. It tells us to spend most of our time in our area of our weakness so that we could make it mediocre at best. And I don't know about you, James, but I don't pay people for mediocrity.
Absolutely.
I don't pay people to, can you do a decent job of marketing my home? No. Could you do a decent job of getting some breakthroughs in our company? Yeah, I'll try my best. We'll see what we could do. No. People pay for excellence. This is, for me, it was a game changer. You can't be excellent in a weakness. You could only be excellent in a strength. So when you take your time and you look and you say, okay, then I'm going to spend 70 to 75% of my time in my strength zone. You guys are probably looking and you're like, oh, he's able to articulate this. This is a strength. This is something that's a gift of mine. Now, there's a lot of things that if you look at my life and you see how I operate in it, you'd be like, that's a weakness. I just don't spend a lot of time in my weaknesses anymore. I used to, and that's why I felt so hard. Felt like I was running through a wall. But I try to spend time in my strengths now, because if I'm in my strength and Becca's in her strength and James and Danielle are in your strength, we're gonna one, enjoy doing it. Two, we're gonna do it at a much higher level of excellence. And nothing of significance is done in our weakness. It's always in our strength.
What's incredible too is you see the change in the atmosphere too, because everybody's enjoying what they're doing.
Yes.
What we don't realize is that when we're doing what we're not designed to do, we're not good at, it drains us.
Yeah.
So you feel it. And then when you're in your giftedness or what you like, like what you like to do, you're energized. And you carry that home to your families and to your friends and your whole environment. So everything starts to change, which is pretty amazing.
There's that saying, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And until you've had that level of awareness and you've gone through that exercise, like I remember distinctly, I was like, I can't wait to see what my gift is. I can't wait to see what my gift is. It was just not sure.
Yeah.
Kind of knew, but didn't know. And then to have that confirmation and to now focus, as you said, in the areas where you really excel, you're not working. And you do, like everything changes.
And you're robbing other people when you're doing what their strength is. So like as an example, if you're a great communicator and you're a great encourager and you're a great teacher and you're then doing all paperwork all day long, it's not that the paperwork is below you. That's not the point. Is that there are people who get energized by that.
Right.
There are people who literally live to look and make sure that every single word is done correctly, every T's crossed.
Like our Amory.
Yeah.
No, she's
She's
on
phenomenal.
It.
Yeah.
And she's energized and she's smiling. It's nice. And if I was to take that on as somebody else, we're robbing somebody else.
You're robbing them of their gift.
Of theirs.
So here we are, and you guys are embarking on a community transformation project with John Maxwell. Can you talk us through what that's about?
It's you, baby.
I I just looked at you.
Don't you know if she looks at you, that means that's it?
That's me, baby. So we built this relationship with John and his organization. It's been a phenomenal relationship, and honestly, it's been a blessing to both of us. And to make a long story short, they have been doing this in countries. They've done it in Paraguay, they've done it in Costa Rica, they've done it in Papua New Guinea, and 2 other countries, where they go into the country and they work with the key influencers, and they're able to, through working with the 8 spheres of influence, like business, sports, entertainment, arts, government, faith-based, and 2 other areas, they have the ability to create movement and change in a country. But the thing that I love about John is he says that it's all around values. He said, because if you don't have values, you don't have a nation that's gonna do things well. And it doesn't matter whether you're to the left or to the right. It doesn't matter whether you're you're Christian or you're Jewish or you're Muslim. It's not about that. It's about values, and values are very simple. If I value James, then valuing a person is a value that we can live by and we can talk about and discuss. So what they do is they've done it in countries, and now they've chosen Staten Island to be one of the communities that they're going to be doing in, which is super exciting.
Amazing.
Yeah, very exciting.
They take 2 parts. I'll just kind of give a high level. They take 2 parts. The first part of it is creating this transformative agenda. It's an agenda based off of surveys and market research that we've been doing in the community with different organizations, where we see what the pulse and the heartbeat is of the community, what people really value. Listen, you and I as business people, we lean towards business, but that's not the whole island. That's 500,000 people. It doesn't mean they all leaning towards business. So we've done surveys, focus groups, and multiple other things to be able to really get the pulse and the heartbeat of the community. Then to create an agenda and a action plan of how we're going to go about doing that as a community with all different 8 spheres of influence, going from the most influential to the people that are trying their best just to get by, and empowering everyone to lead a more value principled life, all around leadership. Right.
Looking to bring unity within the community.
Correct. Yep. And then the second part of it is these transformative roundtables. And the thing that John Maxwell talks about, and he talks about it in the book that's coming out in January, end of January, in Change Your World, that transformation happens 1 table at a time.
Oh.
1 table at a time. So the goal is to get groups of 6 to 10 people, whether it's via Zoom or in person, to talk about values. So they pick the value that they want to discuss. So let's say in Casandra Properties, you guys are going to talk about the value of discipline. Well, what does that look like? How does that impact our lives? Or the value of forgiveness, right? And the goal is to get 10% of the population involved in transformative roundtables around values.
I'll share on forgiveness, though, since you said it. So one of the countries, it was a story that has taken root in me, was that they were at one of the roundtables, and one of the guys had gotten up, and they just spoke about forgiveness, and he went over to the facilitator, and he shared about forgiveness, and he was like, I get it, and I'll forgive everybody. He's like, except for one person. He said, the person that murdered my brother.
Wow.
I am on a hunt for him, and when I see him, he's like, I will kill him.
I've been looking for him for 12 years.
So a couple of weeks go by, and he goes back to the table, and he asked the facilitator to come off to the side. He just wanted to share something with him, and he asked him to sit down, and he told him, he said, I found my brother's murderer. And the facilitator's heart dropped and didn't know if he wanted to hear what he was going to hear. And he said, I forgave him.
Oh, wow.
And he started crying. Now, just to share, the facilitator, when he first came to him and shared that, he just listened. He didn't say anything, he just listened. But because of that conversation at that table, something changed that guy's heart, wrapped around forgiveness. And that's how we're going to be able to make transformation within a community.
Yeah. And it really takes, a lot of people think it's 50, 60, 80% of a population. It's 10%.
10%.
It's 10%. It's a tipping point. And every study that you look at, every book that I've read around transformation in a culture, in a society, it's a 10% that impacts 90. It's not 90 that impacts 10. So that's the goal. It's come up with an agenda, 1 or 2 topics that we as a community can rally behind and really attack. And then 10% of the population in these transformative roundtables to see change happening. You know, you're part of our Lions Club mastermind, and you see the change that happens around the table. There's something that happens when you take people and put them around a table and they get to talk about a topic. Something shifts. And that's what the goal is. And there's the best thing about this, James, is that there's no economic benefit to us. It's not like people are like, well, why are you doing this? Because I want to see change. I want to see what happened to me.
Yep.
What happened to me is Danielle and I were, young, driven, and totally a mess. And all of a sudden we got a hot mess. A hot mess. That's better. But we changed. And why we changed is what we call the transformational process. Our thought life changed. When our thought life changed, then what happens next? Our belief systems change. When belief systems change, behaviors change, and then ultimately the results change. That guy didn't murder that guy because it wasn't because his results changed. It was because a thought life changed. He started being around people that were talking about forgiveness and getting him to realize that maybe this is hurting me more than it's hurting that guy.
It's incredible.
It really is.
Incredible story.
Last point I wanted to touch on is your faith. You guys have, it permeates into everything that you do. You're clearly bound by your faith. What are the origins of that, and how did you arrive with such a profound faith? I mean, it really, you can see it in everything that you do. How do you get there?
Yeah. So for me, Danielle will share for her, but I'm going to share for me. All right. For me, that I got there because I recognized what the bottom looked like. 2008, Danielle and I were involved in a business deal. We were merging with a company in the city and fell apart, and we literally almost lost everything. I mean, if it wasn't for family, because we had just started seeing some success, and we had put everything into it, and we literally were almost homeless. And my brother was kept asking me, Chad, come to this Bible study. I said, Chris, if you ask me to come to a Bible study one more time, he must have asked me 400 times. I mean, the kid is the most persistent person I know, right?
I wonder where he gets it from.
Yeah. So I literally said, I'm going to throw something at you if you ask me. I said, I'll make a deal with you. If I come this one time, you promise. You
said punch him.
Okay. Yes. So I said, if I come this one time, you promise me you'll never ask me to come again? He said, yeah. I said, promise me. He said, I promise you I will never ask you to come again. I'll come. I went that night to prove him that I will never come again. And, God just touched me that night. I walked in depressed, filled with anxiety, addiction. I walked out healed that night. So I know the power of God, not because someone told me about it. I experienced the presence of God.
It's remarkable. I would have thought that this was ingrained in you your entire life. I had no idea.
Nope. And that was just 10 years ago.
Wow.
Yep.
No. Yeah, when he said we were a mess, we were.
A hot mess.
we were a mess. We were a mess. But actually, it goes along with that story, as you can imagine. He came in, and we were living together at the time, and he walked into the house, and I felt something. Like, I just looked at him and I said, what's wrong? What happened? And he just started to share about this meeting he went to, and very skeptical, and I just didn't understand. And I was dropping off. It was a men's group. So I dropped him off a few times, and we can't remember if he invited me in.
No, I remember.
Or I got out of the
you
car.
Turned it co-ed.
or I got out of the car, but I kind of walked in, and I was like, I was just so drawn myself, but at the same time, I went in just to be like, what is that?
Right.
What are you guys talking about? What is this? What, how did it happen?
Right.
Because I saw the change in him, and I felt it, but I didn't understand how.
Can I just speak to that for one moment? So that's 2009. 2003, I looked in the mirror and didn't like who I was. So there was a 6-year period of time. Remember I said I was reading about 50 books a year. So that's about 300 books I'm into at this point. Just context. I go to that Bible study and I hear Joseph Matera sharing and reading the scriptures. And I said, everything that I've been searching for and trying to read in these books is in God's word. I said, why am I trying to read these books when I could just go to the word? So I stopped reading as many books and I started reading God's word. So now I read books, but just not 50 a year, maybe 15 or 20.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so like he said, I turned a men's group co-ed.
Yeah, there we go.
I was like, and honestly, I've had personally experienced God that nobody can tell me anything different. And that's and the stories just go on, and we don't have enough time for it.
And I think just in wrapping on that, the thing that has really changed my life is that when I read God's word, he valued people so much. And the thing that Danielle and I are committed to is to value people. And when you value people and you don't create these barriers, but you create bridges, you could do tremendous things. And it doesn't have to be around a faith. It could just be around valuing people and making an impact. And the thing that I've done is, and you've been around me, I don't hit people with the Bible. I'm not going to do that. It's not who I am. I'm just going to be the gospel. I'm going to be different. I'm not going to hit them with the Bible. They can see my life. My life the fruit will tell people the story. Not what I'm trying to get down their throats.
Yeah, and there's a very big difference because you don't do that, but the faith is very clear, very evident, and it's inspirational, honestly.
Thank you.
All right, this was great. I appreciate you guys coming in. Again, I can't thank you enough for the impact that you've had.
Thank you.
We appreciate you very much. And
Well,
we're glad to be on this journey together.
Yeah, a lot of exciting things in the future and on the horizon, and we're just getting started. So, I feel totally re-energized. I really do feel like a kid again, and it's exciting.
Awesome.
It's fun.
Well,
How do people reach out to you? What's the best way for them to contact you?
yeah, so you can send an email to Danielle at lionsprideleadership.com. Or you can go on our website. We have an event we're doing in January. First, it's to our Lions Pride clients, and then we're opening it up to the public if there's anything open because of COVID and the restrictions. But you can go on lionsprideleadership.com or Danielle at lionsprideleadership.com.
All right, great.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Fantastic.
joining
Thank
us
you
today.
so
Thank
much,
you guys.
guys.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
it,
to
guys.
have you. As always, everyone, please keep the comments coming and the suggestions. And everyone, please stay safe.